Prior to the construction of the Chazy Central Rural School, this building here, located on Main Street next to the current town offices, was the public school. And it was next to, at the time, the Methodist Church. After the construction of the school, it became part of Gray Gables, home to teachers, primarily single teachers, unmarried teachers, who worked at Chazy Central Rural School. And it's a big piece of the history of Chazy Central and of Chazy itself. It is now 3:45 p.m. on Tuesday, the 16th of July 2019, and we're here in Chazy because in 15 minutes the town board will meet. Recently it was determined by the code enforcement officer, Mike Tatro, that Gray Gables is uninhabitable. There have been apartments that were renovated and fixed up, but it has now been determined it's been occupied for several years now, after sitting vacant for a long time. But it is now uninhabitable, and we're going to find out the near future of this structure, or these structures I should probably say. As the town board meets, and the future will be either renovate or vacate. Obviously the people living in here will have to vacate. I think they have just a few more days before they must vacate. So we'll go inside and we'll get the meeting and we'll let it speak for itself.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Call to approve the minutes from the last meeting?
No minutes.
No minutes? That's right, special meeting, we normally don't do that. At this time, I'd like to open the meeting to public comment, and if you have something to say, we're more than glad to hear from you. I'd like you to try to hold it down to 5 minutes if possible. Anyone want to speak? Yes, please.
Bill, Bob West, I would just like to reserve a right to maybe speak after everything, after I find out what's going on here.
I don't see a problem with that. It's not normal, Bob, but...
It wouldn't be very long if I did. It might be just might be a comment or two, but...
And we would extend the same privilege to anyone else at that
just,
point.
you know, I don't know just what's going on, so I might have a comment later.
Understood. Okay.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Anyone else?
Yes. I would like to say, Mr. West had the opportunity to speak after a conversation. Thank you.
And me too.
Okay, yeah. Okay. Is that noted, the three, please? Yeah, no, I can understand. We ask you to make a comment on something you're not fully aware of, and it's kind of confusing. So that's this is supposed to be common sense and friendly. Let's try to keep it that way.
Absolutely.
All right.
I guess I should get the registration to speak later if there's a topic that needs to be talked about.
Okay.
I mean, if you don't say anything that relates to my client, I don't have anything to say.
Understood. Understood. I'll close the open public comment now. We'll reserve comments for afterwards, so you have the chance to express your opinions or ask questions. Any of the councilors at this time have anything they want to say?
At this point for me.
No? I'm good. Okay.
No, that's fine.
You're good? Okay. We just had a meeting a couple weeks ago, and a lot of those issues that were on their mind or paper was addressed at that time. I, in turn, normally have a list about that long, and that will be for the next meeting, not for this evening. I guess we're going to move on to the crutch of what we're here for this evening. We called the meeting to address a couple of resolutions that the town has to approve. And if you would kindly address them, Heather, I'd appreciate it.
The first resolution is authorizing Supervisor Arthur to sign a NYSEG streetlight buyout agreement. You previously authorized him to write them a letter of interest, and now we're moving forward to the next step where the contract will be signed.
I'll make that motion.
A second.
Any discussion?
So review this for me, Jen,
Yes.
exactly what's this all about?
So we,
This was something that we've been pursuing for quite a while
Yeah.
with New York State Gas and Electric. And I dealt with Nancy Bernstein, a group up in Saranac Lake, to aid us in it. And we had to put away $11,247.84. That gives us the opportunity to buy out the present lighting district that is available in Scioto, West Shazy, and Shazy. And in doing so, they will then convert all of our streetlights to LEDs. And the contract is either for A or B, and we chose A because it was much less expensive. B is where they go in and they judge the luminance of each light and address it accordingly, but it's quite expensive to do that. The way they do it presently under A, they judge what is there and they replace a bulb of equal luminance, so that we don't go into a small street and put too bright a light in that the people have to put shades in their front window in order to sit in the living room. That's the purpose of it. The cost savings would be astronomical. LEDs cost about 1/3 of the energy to light up, and there's no heat given off. So it'll save the lighting districts a lot of money after a year's usage. It'll remain the same for about a year, and then this will be paid for and we go down.
So what is the total cost?
Total cost us is
Is
$11,000.
that number right there,
Yes.
nothing else?
No,
yes.
no, that's it.
And the payback we expect it to be?
After a year, it would be a decrease of about 1/3 of the revenue that we're spending presently. We're one of the last towns, or the middle range towns to adopt this program. It's been done in many other areas. Some have even hired independent contractors to come in and change the lights faster for them because they wanted the savings. And they had the wherewithal to do it.
So NYSEG's gonna do this work?
NYSEC will either do it or they hire independent contractors that will come into the area. And when they come in, they might do Champlain, Chazy, Beekmantown. They do it in groups as they're working in the area doing it.
So very, very quick payback.
Yes, yes.
Okay.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Counselor Giroux?
Yes.
Counselor Dino?
Yes.
Counselor Devens?
Yes.
Counselor Vesco?
Yes.
Supervisor Arthur?
Yes.
Okay, the next one is a 2019 adjusting entry to reallocate funds from the school sewer debt reserve to sewer fund balance. And Sue, if you would like to explain that.
Okay, we have learned this week that we have several pump stations. Well, the majority, I think there's only 2 left that have 2 pumps in them. Each pump station is supposed to have 2. Therefore, we have nothing in reserve, and we need to order 4 immediately. It takes about 3 months to get in. We did have 1 spare come back today. That was repaired over at Peak. But we're ordering new ones because the longevity of the ones that are being repaired have been in there for almost 19 years with repair, and they can only, their lifespan is waning. So that is what that is for.
At one time we had, was it four stations working just on 1 pump? And they're supposed to have 2, it's supposed to be redundancy. So we kind of hit the wall with them. There's 2 over there presently. They're going to try to make 1 out of it so that we have a backup. And then the rest we'd have to order, and it's 6 to 12 weeks to get them.
This is the extra money that's accumulated in there, we had the discussion.
We already took part of that money, and now this is the remainder of it to bail us out of this situation.
We had an extra about 54 in there.
No, it would have been $40,278.64.
In case you wanted to know.
But this is what Phil addressed at the last meeting?
Yes.
Where we moved some of it, correct?
Mhm.
Okay. So this will leave nothing in there?
Oh, no, we still have.
There will still be-
there's
This is just the
that one.
extra over and above.
That is, okay.
Right.
All right.
We even went to the extreme of having a plan B. If we became short of pumps, we would have to try to move one from like River Street where there's a low volume, or up near Dupree Road at low volume. And Plan C would be bringing in a truck that would have to pump them down a couple times a day and then take care of them correctly. But, you know, we're trying to have all the contingencies, so in case Murphy's Law kicks us, we're ready. But ordering those pumps is almost a necessity.
When do we move the other money? Refresh my memory on that.
We moved the other money to, what was, the 20,000 was moved out of there initially to cover expenses on the payment?
AES, we look for AES?
Yeah, the AES
Yes.
payment for the engineering for the sewer plant. And that's money that we get back. Once the bonds or the grants are issued, the money will then be put back into that fund. It's a temporary thing to allow them to go forward.
I'll make a motion.
Any further discussion? Counselor Giroux?
Yes.
Counselor Dino?
Yes.
Counselor Devon?
Yes.
Counselor Vesco?
Yes.
Supervisor Arthur?
Yes.
Okay, the next one is a resolution regarding the property at 9653 Route 9, commonly known as Jumar's General Store. The code enforcement officer has recommended that the board issue an order of repair or removal of the building within 30 days as it has been deemed unsafe and dangerous.
I'll make the motion.
Second.
Any discussion? Counselor Giroux?
Yes.
Counselor Dino?
Yes.
Counselor Devon?
Yes.
Counselor Vesco?
Yes.
Supervisor Arthur?
Yes.
Okay, and the last one we have tonight is for the building located at 9627 Route 9, commonly known as Gray Gables. The code enforcement officer has recommended that the board issue an order to close the building due to multiple code violations. And the property presents a clear and imminent danger to the life, safety, and health of the current tenants.
I'll make the motion.
I'll second.
Any discussion?
Anything new, Bill, or?
Actually, no, I gave you a pretty good summary at the last meeting that the directive had come to us from a new group that was formed in Albany. And it was formed because of a very tragic fire that took several lives. It was in a fourplex. Once that was formed, their focus was to come to any code violations that were not being addressed in a timely manner. And they came to us because of the Gray Gables code violations going back many years. So the can has been kicked down the road, and it's kind of the end of the situation. With that in mind, we had to act upon it, or ramifications would have come to the town. So that was why we're proceeding forward with this.
Serious ramifications, correct?
Very serious, yes. Yeah. No one wants to endanger anyone because of what's perceived as violations that could cause a problem. And that's where this is alluding to. We're in a situation now where the people that are there, this area has been deemed uninhabitable structure, and the people that are there are being counseled by outside organizations that will find them other places to reside. And it will be uninhabited until an engineer looks at it, an agenda is set for rehab, and then it complies with the agenda, and then it would be then deemed to be moved back into. So it's a series of events at this point.
So there's still tenants in there?
Until the 22nd of this month, Dan.
That's, if I might,
Excuse me?
if I might make a comment,
No, actually, we're
We're voting.
We're
Yes,
in
we're
the middle
voting.
of a
But
resolution.
there's some
I know, we're in the middle of the
information
resolution.
that you
You'll have the
have.
opportunity at the end.
You should have that information before you vote.
I deem not.
Okay.
We're going to go forward. Thank you.
On the record.
So, as we talked about before, we certainly don't want anyone on the street, so they're being relocated.
Exactly. We treat people with dignity and respect.
Sure.
Any other questions?
Okay, can we have a motion and a second? Any further discussion? Counselor Giroux?
Yes.
Counselor Dino?
Yes.
Counselor Devens?
Yes.
Counselor Vesco?
Yes.
Supervisor Arthur?
Yes.
Motion passed.
That takes care of all the resolutions and actions.
Sure does.
Because I extended the courtesy to Mr. West, is there anything you'd like to address us about now?
Nope,
No?
no, I can't think of anything. I didn't know where it was going, how it was,
And I hope we explained it clearly as we were going along.
I'm happy.
Ms. Bedard?
I just want to say thank you, Mr. Tatro, for the fine work that you did on this. And it's greatly appreciated, I'm sure, by many of the townspeople who by ability to put the risk costs on the town. Thank you.
Mr. Bisek? Alex?
I was just wondering, where's the town attorney?
He was at the other end of the,
No, I mean, today.
he was at the other end of this process. At 3:52, the resolutions came through.
Okay,
He was working on them all
I
afternoon.
was
Couldn't
just
be there and
wondering.
here, and he got them to us at just about 6 minutes before the meeting started. Because they had to be correct. They have to be, so that they would stand up if reviewed or looked at.
And he's on board with this.
Oh, 110%. Yeah,
All right.
but good question, thank you. Yeah, I was sweating bullets until that email came through. Ditto, yes. Now, the last person to ask to speak was,
I asked to speak because I would have liked the board to have considered before they authorized this resolution to close the Gray Gables for not being fit for human occupancy, that it's already been done,
correct.
okay? And I didn't hear the word ratify or authorize in your resolution. Seemed to me that Mr. Tetro went ahead and acted before he had a resolution in his pocket. Now, if he is allowed, I haven't looked it up, as part of his job, if he is allowed to issue a cease and desist, stop your business, get out of the building, okay? It needs to have notice. This notice, this letter from Mr. Tetro, I think we're all aware of, it's written on County Shazy stationery, was served upon Mr. Roos, the owner and operator of the subject building, on Friday, July 12th. It certainly is not enough time to address any violation of New York State Property Maintenance Code Section 101.2.7.3.4.3, you know, which I've read and I've seen most of the code now. And, you know, it talks about specific things, and there's no finding of fact that there's any of these specific things talked about in that code section in Mr. Tetro's letter. So there's no notice as to what needs to be fixed in order to continue to operate. I think it fails, the notice fails, I think the resolution fails, and I'd like the town to consider withdrawing it and allowing Mr. Roos to have a full and complete outline of what needs to be fixed and why before he spends money on a building that doesn't turn a profit very much anyway. As you know, that building is the home of last resort to many people who would otherwise be on the street. And regardless of the activities of social agencies in this area, they're not going to find homes for all the people that need a place to stay. As a matter of fact, in this very town, we brought a lawsuit to eject a tenant, Mr. Perry, he's in this room here, from his apartment because he hadn't paid rent. And I talked to his attorney who's in this room, who's Tara here, Tara Glynn, okay, and said, well, the reason he didn't pay rent or he didn't leave is because he has no place to go. Well, if people have no place to go, isn't Mr. Bruce doing a service, giving people affordable places to live? And if they are, in fact, unhealthy and illegal and dangerous, specifically, what's unhealthy, what's illegal, and what's dangerous? I went thoroughly through the report of the Clinton County Health Department, which I'll take up with them, and there's no facts in it. As a matter of fact, we have had an independent person do a test and do a search for mice and vermin, and we have a report which I'll furnish you tomorrow that says there's no mice and no vermin. Okay? And they don't say that there are either. They said that there was a mouse nest that was sighted. This is totally unspecific. You know, I think it's incorrect. I think if you don't change your approach to fixing the problem, it may end up in court. And we're very happy to work with you, okay, to be sure that we know what you believe the extent of the law is as to the actual, real repairs that need to be made, not just a bunch of words that strike emotions because they're awful if they occur. But there's no proof that they occurred. But you're putting a man out of business. We have a constitution. No deprivation of property without due process of law. I don't think this is due process of law. Thank you.
Your comments are taken and appreciated. I think in order to clarify, you threw several things at us at one time. But I think the key thing, this is an emergency. This is where it's deemed that it's unfit for people to live in because of the code violations. Because of the emergency part of it, it will give you the opportunity to pursue it later in court if you want. But we're not going to delay what we interpret as being a dangerous situation. People's lives are too important. Anyone else? With that being said, I believe that on my agenda, I can, close the meeting. Thank you all for attending. I hope that you got the information you came for. If you had a question and didn't ask it, shame on you. And please come back. Thank you, everyone. Good night.
Well, there you have it, the special meeting Town of Chazy regarding the immediate future for Gray Gables Apartments. Obviously, building this size, it would be astronomical to try to repair everything that might be structurally wrong with it. Whether there is stuff structurally wrong with it, I'll let the experts decide. But it's overall, it's a sad note here in Chazy that it's come to this type of a situation. But as we said, we'll let the meeting speak for itself. We're offering no opinion on this whatsoever. It's just covering the meeting.